Ciao and welcome to Goddess Gourmet Holiday Edition. I'm Giovannina and I'm going to be cooking up a storm today. And if you're like me, you will be also for your holidays. Anywhere from a roast turkey to a huge tray of stuffed mushrooms and beyond. This year I'm going to cut my cooking time in half. I'm using a product called Flavor Bombs. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get cooking. So let's get started with our turkey. Starting with our holiday cooking. I have a nice 12-pound turkey here. I'm using my sage flavor bomb. Gonna put about half of it in a little bowl with some butter and some oil. And then I'm just going to get this all mixed in together and sort of smear it around on that turkey. And you'll have those delicious flavors of the sage bomb, which has your shallots, pecans, sage, parsley, and just a little bit of oil in there to bind it all together. So let's start with the top. Just going to get all this worked in there on the top. I like to get it under the skin. So I'm going to lift that up a bit and sort of massage this right in. Get little clumps of butter in there, but that's all going to melt down and really flavor that white meat of the breast. Really nice. Get that down in there. So get it all around, and you'll have a lovely herbed turkey. I am going to put a piece of tin foil over the breast so the herbs don't burn and the breast doesn't overcook. Try to get that to stay on there. As we baste it, as the juices form in the pan, we'll be getting those herbs going all through again. So this is about ready to go. Pull these off. And I am just going to add a little salt and pepper over the top. You have a little salt and pepper in that sage bomb, but you need a little more on here. And voila, our turkey is ready for the oven. I have it at a 350 oven. I'm just going to cover this a bit on top. And getting that in. And now, I'm going to get this in the oven, a 350 oven, and it's going to cook for about 3 hours. And I'll see you on the other side. Okay, our turkey's in the oven. I'm ready to make the stuffing my favorite dish of any holiday. And I like to start with some soft diced bread and a little cornbread in there for just that little touch of sweetness every once in a while. And then I like to put in the dried crumbs, cubed. I like the different textures of these breads. They all bake up together, but it just gives a nice interest to the stuffing. And now, lots of delicious little things go in here. I am going to start with my sofrito flavor bomb. That is my onion and garlic, parsley and basil. So this makes it an easy stuffing since I'm not at the stove sauteing onions that I've been chopping all morning. Now that's going right in there. You see how much you got out of that there. So I've got my onions in there. Now I'm putting in my mirepoix, little more onion, carrot and celery with some butter in there. Everything I need to flavor that stuffing in there. Well, almost everything, because now I'm going to add a little more of my sage. I used half on the turkey and used the other half in the stuffing. going to get this all mixed around a bit before I start adding my other ingredients, which will be, I love little chestnuts in my stuffing. So whether they are fresh roasted or jarred or packaged nuts, I do like a sausage stuffing. So I've got a little nice lean sausage out of the casing that I sauteed, and I love that sausage in there.
Okay.
Next, my toasted pinoli nuts. Love a little pine nuts in there. Again, some nice texture variations in this stuffing. Some grated cheese. And a beaten egg. And finally, some chicken broth. Lovely. And lastly, a little salt and pepper. And we're ready to get this mixed and in our tin to bake. Stuffing needs help. Stuffing can't be just bread. It needs to be all these delicious things that may be your favorites. You can put raisins, you can put other dried fruits. Okay, let's mix. Got to get the hands in there. The best tools I find in the kitchen really are your hands. I might even forego that. So you want to get everything mixed, pressed together, but not squished. You don't want to flatten those nice fluffy bread cubes. Okay. Delicious aroma already, and it's not even baked yet. And a quick recap of the bombs was a half a sage, a whole sofrito, and a whole mirepoix. And then the rest is up to you. So now I'm going to put this in a buttered tin. I like to use a disposable tin for this because I'm not going to be serving in here. I like to bake it halfway and then turn it so the bottom part gets browned as well. Flip it around, and then I'll be serving it in my nice bowl. So this tin works very well for this. And we're ready for the oven. Okay, let's get the stuffing in. And I'll check on that in about 20 minutes. And now another delicious little side dish is some butternut squash. You can use the sage flavor bomb with it. I have some melted butter, mixing in some of the sage. And this is chunked butternut squash that I microwaved for about 10 minutes first, so it's a little bit tender. And this way then it only needs to bake in a 375 oven for about a half hour, turning every once in a while. So very simple, but very tasty and a lovely fall dish. Your butternut squash with the sage flavor bomb. You've got your sage, shallots, pecans, and some butter there. And our butternut squash is ready for the oven. And what's a holiday meal without the side dishes? And here I made a really nice quinoa, which is a very simple side dish to make. A cup of quinoa to 2 cups of liquid, whether it's broth or water. But to make it that much more special, I am going to add my Mirepoix flavor bomb. Going to add that carrot, celery, onion, a little butter in there. Delicious. I am going to add a little drizzle of oil. And some salt and pepper. A very healthy side dish. Quinoa is actually a seed, so one of the healthiest things on earth. And I'm going to serve this in my little dual bowl here because I'm going to be pulling out my butternut squash and serve that on the side with this. Okay, I'm going to get out my butternut squash. Oops. Get out my butternut squash here. And this will go on this side. And this has my sage flavor bomb. Isn't that nice? It's going to look great on my Thanksgiving table. Okay, here we are with our lovely rack of lamb. They are going to cook up so moist and delicious. I'm going to roast them in a 425 oven for about 20 minutes to a half hour. And that's it. Let them rest long enough and they will be perfect. Now I'm going to use my rosemary flavor bomb, thin it out with some oil, and that's going to be my marinade, my rub, my coating. And it just gives it a delicious flavors here. You have your rosemary and parsley, lemon juice, lemon zest, sauteed garlic, some pinoli nuts in there. Everything I need to make this lamb the most delicious it could be. And once I get this on here, give it a little massage into the meat. Rosemary works so beautifully with lamb and the lemon. I'm even going to squeeze just a little extra lemon juice on this. I'm going to get that pit off of there. Okay, let's give this a little massage. And that is going to roast up so beautifully. Equal time to the other side. And then I'm just going to sprinkle a little salt and pepper and put this in the oven. These are Frenched very nicely, so it's like your little handle there when you want to eat them. You can use a knife and fork, but I think little lamb chops like this is the rib cut lamb chops, are just meant to be picked up and eaten by hand. So we've got our lovely marinade on there. And these are ready for the oven. So we did our rosemary rack of lamb is in the oven. Now I'm going to make my rosemary potatoes. The other half of my flavor bomb. Now these potatoes, I'm using Red Bliss potatoes, which I just love because the color is so beautiful. You don't have to peel them. So I'm adding my olive oil to my rosemary flavor bomb. Now these potatoes have been diced and microwaved for about 8 minutes so that they're tender, which really makes it an even quicker recipe in the oven. So now I'm just going to pour that over. And then give them a good toss and add some salt and pepper. And these will be ready for the oven. Looks great already. So by microwaving the potatoes, you get them tender so they don't have to roast as long. So there's no chance of your herbs burning. Oh yeah. Little salt and pepper. And you can see how far that 2-ounce flavor bomb goes. Plenty of herb crust on my lamb, plenty of herb dressing on my potatoes. Put them in my baking pan. Don't want to miss a drop. Spread them out. You like to cook potatoes pretty much in one layer so they all crisp up nicely. And I love glass. It's a really good heat conductor. It really works nicely in getting them nice and crisp. Okay, into the oven they go. Okay, and what's a holiday meal without a couple of delicious appetizers? So I'm going to make my little quiches, little mini quiche in phyllo shells. That's one. Oops, that's two. And let me beat these eggs up. 2 eggs. I love these little frozen phyllo shells that you find in the supermarket. And versus a big quiche, I like to change it up so I could do some different flavors. So I have my 2 eggs. I'm going to add a little cream, a little heavy cream. I am going to add a little grated cheese. Put in the mixable ingredients right now. Then I am going to add, for my sauteed onions, I add my sofrito flavor bomb. My delicious sauteed onions in there with a little garlic, parsley, and basil for color. So it eliminates me having to chop and saute onions for this recipe. Mix that in there. And you see how far that goes, that little 2-ounce flavor bomb. Really fills up those eggs. Next, I'm going to add some shredded cheese, and here I have shredded fontina and Gruyere. So the Gruyere has that little sharpness, the fontina, that nice creamy milkiness. I might add a bit more cream here. I'm also going to add just a little bit of flour to help bind that together. A little flour and some nutmeg, because nutmeg is always nice in quiche. And we'll get the speed up and ready to fill those cups. So now I'm going to fill half of these with this mixture. And you want to really get that piled in there. They puff up real nicely.
Okay, go.
And now I'm going to add my spinach. So the second little batch will be spinach quiche. And a little recap of the Gruyere and Fontina shredded, little grated cheese, little nutmeg, my sofrito flavor bomb, that's your onion and garlic for that background flavors. And now my frozen chopped spinach. That was defrosted, and you want to squeeze out any of the liquid out of that spinach. Delish. And these bake up real quick. 375 for about 10 minutes and they are done. Time for one of my favorites, my stuffed mushroom recipe. Now, the way I do my stuffed mushrooms is first I take these beautiful mushrooms, give them a drizzle of oil, and pop them in the oven for about 5-10 minutes so all that mushroom liquid comes out. Mushrooms are full of water. So that liquid comes out, and now I could use it in my stuffing rather than have stuffed mushrooms now that are swimming in a liquid. So let's pop these in the oven for a few minutes and get back to them shortly. Okay, so to continue with my stuffed mushrooms, some oil in my pan and the chopped mushroom stems now. Putting my chopped mushroom stems in the pan. Let those get a little bit browned. So to our mushrooms, I am going to add some basil flavor bomb, which contains my basil, parsley, sauteed garlic, because you need garlic for stuffed mushrooms. Plenty of sauteed garlic in there, some grated cheese. I actually can add my breadcrumbs now. These are fresh breadcrumbs, toasted. That's plenty. Stir that up. I'm going to add here it is, going to add that mushroom juice I mentioned earlier. Gives it a little more mushroom flavor and some moisture. Might add a little more oil to this. And next I add my little secret ingredient, which is some ricotta cheese. Gives it a nice smoothness. That's enough. And a little more grated cheese. There's the grated pecorino romano in my basil flavor bomb, but I like my mushrooms cheesy. So mix this up all together. And I am going to add a little more olive oil, salt and pepper, get this nicely mixed, and I'll be ready to stuff my mushrooms. Salt, and lots of fresh cracked pepper. I'm actually going to shut that off and just get this all mixed up. And it's a delicious, savory, Italian-style mushroom filling. You see all that nice parsley basil in there. You've got plenty of garlic in there. Okay, so we're just going to put a nice full teaspoon or tablespoon full of my filling in the mushrooms and pop them in the oven. A little bit of ricotta helps bind them together. This will get a nice little brown crust on it as they bake. Okay. We're ready for the oven.